And this mortal must put on immortality. So the bodies that we're going to be put in, the bodies that Yahweh Shai is going to give us, we're never going to die. We're never going to have a pain. Our vision is going to work perfectly. Our hearing is going to work perfectly. We're going to be perfect, just like Yahweh Shai is perfect. Okay? And that is our hope, man. That is our hope. That is part of the reward that we're going to receive for being faithful in this truth while we're trapped. Just like Jude said, while we're being reserved, trapped in these everlasting chains. Okay? One day we're going to be free from those everlasting chains. Yahweh Shai is going to free us. Because we're never going to die. Once we put in those bodies that Yahweh Shai is going to bring, we're never going to die. We're never going to be sick. And that's going to fulfill the scripture in Revelation where it is written, he shall wipe away all tear from their eyes. And that pertains to us Israelites, beginning with the elect. See, this is part of our glory, you know. So it ain't just the kingdom of heaven, all right? That's added to our glory, the kingdom of heaven. The main glory, if you ask me, is being put in a body where you're 100% perfect. You can't tell me that that doesn't eclipse all glory. Being put in a body where you're 100% perfect after experiencing the nightmare that we experience in this body. Okay?
The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and joint heirs with God. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waited for the manifestation of the sons of God. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who hath subjected the same, in hope, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh Shai, Hashem Kapadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples for his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right. And what I want to get into today is a continuation in the book of Baruch. Okay, we made to the 3rd chapter, okay, which goes into our people, you know, that's in a repentant spirit, you know, the exile is in Babylon. You know, they're responding to the message, okay, of Baruch, okay, as Baruch was, you know, sent as a messenger to the exiles in Babylon. You know, at this time, this is a, you know, a whole another generation that has been born because Jake had been beginning to be exiled in 605, you know, BC. Okay, and this is, you know, a few decades later. Okay, so you can know, you can understand, all right, that, you know, the Lord, you know, causes, you know, the elect, all right, the hopeful elect to go into captivity, you know, with the rest of the nation. All right, and when you read Baruch, okay, it's from a spirit of repentance, okay, and the spirit of acknowledging and taking accountability, okay, which those are attributes of the elect, okay. So just as those captives in Babylon, were born into captivity, okay, due to previous sins, okay, of generations before. All right, well, we find ourselves in the same predicament yet this day in our captivity, okay, and the Lord has put the Spirit on us, to take accountability for our fault. May the Lord continue to have that Spirit on us. There was just a spirit of humility, okay, and the Lord can deal with it. He can build, all right, with a spirit of humility, a contrite spirit as we get into, okay, and that spirit of accountability, okay. That's the beginning of mending our relationship with Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, okay, is taking accountability, okay, for wickedness and repenting and making the change, okay. So let's get this in the book of Baruch, the third chapter. All right, this is the book of Baruch, chapter 3, and verse 1. It says, "O Lord, Almighty power of Israel, the soul in anguish, all right, uh, the trouble, okay, the troubled spirit cry out unto thee." Okay, so this is Jake crying out. You know, it said, "Hear, O Lord, and have mercy, for thou art merciful, and have pity upon us, because we have sinned before thee. For thou endurest forever, and we perish utterly," man. So they're crying out like, "Look, we're done here. You know, we've sinned before thee, okay, and now we're in a position to where we're done." So they're complaining about what their circumstances, okay. Put a mark on those that sigh and cry for the abomination and be done in the midst thereof. Okay, so the remnant, one of the characteristics of the remnant, and they will cry out. Okay, and it says, "O Lord Almighty, thou power of Israel, hear now the prayers of the dead Israelites and of their children, which have sinned before thee, and not hearken unto the voice of thee their power, for the which call these plagues cleave unto us." You know, so the predicament that our people found themselves in the Neo-Babylonian Empire, born into captivity, dying in the captivity, you know, those circumstances were due to disobedience. Okay, but you will have what a repentant, all right, generation, that will plead to Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. It said, "Remember not the iniquities of our forefathers, but think upon thy power and thy name at this time." Okay, because the Lord mentioned that He's going to deliver us for His name's sake. Because His name is on us. We the people. We're His people. And how would it look on His name for His people to be in captivity to heathens forever, man? So from beginning with His name's sake, all right, the Lord's going to restore His people. He's going to make things right. Okay, and it's coming for those that believe. All right, it said, "For thou art the Lord our power, and thee, O Lord, will we praise. And for this cause thou hast put thy fear in thy hearts, to the intent that we should call upon thy name and praise thee in thy captivity. For we have called to mind all the iniquity of our forefathers that sinned before thee." Okay, we have called to mind, okay, to name all the sins of our forefathers that sinned before thee. Okay, so going back into it, this is the spirit that the hopeful elect will have, man. Going back to their fear, the beginning of the Lord's. Matter of fact, let's go here. We're calling upon the name, showing that we will have the name, and we're praising our power in our captivity, man. Okay, so this remnant, in the book of Baruch, that's crying out, Okay, it's a shadow of things to come, us crying out, okay, in Babylon and great, and beyond. As we call to mind the iniquities of our forefathers that sinned before them, how do we call to mind the sins of our forefathers? Okay, by repenting, you know, by denouncing those traditions, okay, of our forefathers, Christianity and the wicked, you know, holidays that they celebrate, and the westernization, you see, the philosophies of this world. We denounce these things, okay? We protest those things, man, okay? And that's us recognizing the iniquity of our forefathers, man, okay? Our families, for generations that have been going off, okay? The elect was awakened to break that cycle, man, okay, of continual sin, willful sin amongst our people, okay? And there's a remnant, all right, that will turn and stay loyal. This is also Rock 25 and 12 said, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. Okay, so the fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love. Okay, so there's a reverence. I only, then you don't change for nothing you don't fear. You don't begin to sacrifice and, okay, take losses and, you know, for something that you don't have a reverence for. Okay, we have, the Lord has brought us back into a high reverence. Okay, for he is. Okay, it says in faith, followed by faith, believing. Okay, as we come into these times, believing that, we're good because we see what's coming. And faith is making us continue on this path, even though we know what's coming. Okay, it says, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. Okay, and faith is making us cleave unto our power. As Jake is, we come into this time, and Jake is in this mindset of, you know, drawing back because there's no faith, but it's going to be faith that's going to make us walk through these times, man. It's going to make us walk in the fight, all right, calling on our power, just like Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Okay, those three Hebrew boys and Daniel. You see? So going back to the book of Baruch, the third chapter, let's go back to Baruch chapter 3. It's the book of Baruch chapter 3 and verse 7 again said, for this cause thou hast had put thy fear in our heart, to the intent that we should call upon thy name and praise thee in our captivity. For we have called to mind all the iniquity of our forefathers that sinned before thee. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments. Okay? Are we not in the same predicament today? Showing you that this was a foreshadow of the circumstances we will be in. All right, as Jake, is wrestling with Israelite foreigners, the Gentiles. Well, when you go into the New Testament, those are a foreshadow of the predicaments that we will be in, man. Okay, if you take, the New Testament, all right, and you include heathens into the covenant, you miss the whole mark. Okay, now knowing that they were speaking to us, we will be those Greeks and Gentiles that will come back through faith. Okay, the promises and the prophecy. Okay, that was a foreshadow for us, just like we're seeing here. Okay, these exiles and that was born in captivity in the Neo-Babylonian Empire. This is a foreshadow of us, man. We're in the same predicament. Okay, The difference is now we're in the time of a great deliverance, that final deliverance that's going to lead to everlasting salvation. Okay? It says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities, okay, of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power. Okay? And there's a recognition that what? We fell off. There's a recognition that we strayed away. You look at, like I said, we look at our families and the traditions, black culture, the Negro culture, okay, the northern tribes, and Roman Catholicism. We look at that and it's like, okay, we've departed. When you see what these things are all about, Satanism and idolatry, okay, and we see like, okay, we departed. Well, there's a remnant that would always come back. Okay, though in captivity, the remnant will find themselves, okay, and come back to repentance through Yahweh Shai. Okay, so this whole book is about us, okay, coming back to our power. The Bible is about the ups and downs of Israel, man. The heathens are mentioned because they there. We was in captivity to them. Okay, so their influence had an effect on us as a people. Okay, but the Bible is the ups and downs of Israel, and ultimately their restoration at the end. Okay, a true happily ever after, joyful ever after for Israel, man. Okay, verse 9 says, "Hear Israel, the commandments of life. Give ear to understand wisdom." You see, these are the commandments of life. You see, we're being instructed on how to live. We're being instructed on how to be immortal. Okay, as the scriptures say, let's go here. I believe it's Wisdom of Solomon. All right, chapter 1. Let's get that. You see, we're learning the wisdom to be immortal. Okay, this is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1. Okay, and I started at 13. Said, "For the Most High made not death, neither have he pleasure in the destruction of the living." And this is speaking to a particular lineage, because immortality was given to Adam. Through that way, he intended for Adam. That's why he gave Adam that breath. He intended him to be immortal. Okay, well, it was through following what? All right, the serpent. All right, by the way of Eve, Adam fell from that glory. That's why our forefathers were living so long. Okay, because they was more in tune with Yahweh Bashim Shai. Okay, but as time, passed, okay, sin, all right, plagued the sons of God with death. Their lineage with death. Okay, because Israel is the living. You see, and we're gonna show you in matter of fact, let's go here. All right. Wisdom of Solomon 2, showing you what Adam was given. It said Adam, this is like Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 23. For the Most High created man to be immortal. This is Adam, who was given their breath, and made him to be in the image of his own eternity. You see, this is what Adam fell from. This is what the serpent tricked Eve out of. Like he had a better way, and she brought that way to Adam. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world. All right, and they that hold on his side do find it. Okay, so our people, they cleave on to the way of the devil, the doctrines of the devil. find themselves just in a continued cycle of death. See, we've tapped into immortality, man. You see, what we're a part of, we've tapped into immortality, man. That's why we have to understand what we're a part of, man. Understand what this is that we're doing. Okay, we're not here to hang out, okay, and pity pat with the heathen, and we're not here to be cute and popular on the internet. We really tapped into something here, man. Okay, these people going to see it, all right, before it's all said and done. They don't have to believe us. We don't have to be looked at in a special light now. Okay, understand what we're a part of, man. Be fully persuaded in these things, because it's gonna take a hell of a lot of faith to get through these times, man. Okay, and going into these times, guessing and playing, your doctrine is trash and fragile. All right, okay. Nah, man, we fully understand what we've embarked on, man, and we begin to understand more and more. Okay, so I said, for the Most High created man to be immortal and made him to be an image of his own eternity. You see? But nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world, and they that hold on his side do find it. Okay? So, going back to the beginning, Adam was given that breath. And see, we've been given that breath again. Okay? And it's leading to us being changed. Okay? Into what? The glory of the Heavenly Father, which is immortality, man. You see? So, going back to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 14 said, for he created all things that they might have their being, and the generations of the world were helpful. And says, and there is no poison of destruction in them, nor the kingdom of death upon earth. Okay, and what did the serpent bring? He brought poison. Okay, he brought the poison into the mix. Okay, which caused what? The fall. All right, well, see, this time the serpent is defeated. He's trampled. When Yahushua come back, the serpent will be trampled. Okay, verse 15, for righteousness is immortal. Okay, for righteousness is immortal. So we're learning life. We're learning to be immortal. Okay, and this time Yahushua, he's coming to subdue, okay, the serpent, not make a deal with him. Okay, he's coming to subdue the serpent. Esau, Edom. Okay, beginning with Amalek, you damn devils. Okay, and they go into captivity. Then they're removed from the garden, man. They're removed from the earth. Okay, they're evicted this time. Okay, all it's slick talk. It's over with. The jig is up for you devils, man. All right, and the elect have come back to the commandments of life. You see, so let's go to Baruch 3:8. He said, "Hear Israel, the commandments of life. Give ear to understand wisdom. How happened in Israel that thou art in thy enemy's land, that thou art waxing old in a strange country, that thou art defiled with the dead." Okay, which it was promised what? That we will be scattered for disobedience. Okay, how do we end up in a strange country? Well, disobedience. You see, these are all part of the punishment of what's going off, and then what we will be scattered. So let's get there real quick. And Deuteronomy. All right, 28. And we get there in Jeremiah. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 64. Okay, matter of fact, I read 15, then jump down 64. Deuteronomy 28 and 15 said, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Okay, so how do we get to this point? Disobedience. Okay, us not holding our part of the deal of the covenant. Okay, so you get to verse 64, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even to the other, and there it says, and there thou shalt serve other gods which neither nor thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Okay, so we been put in this predicament, okay, because of disobedience. We've been scattered, serving these other gods, which is the way of death, okay, amongst these heathens. Okay, and that's one of the punishments promised for us going off. This is how we got here. You see, and the elect would acknowledge that and began to change, okay, the behavior that got us put into captivity. Okay, it's like Jake, is cheerleading false prophets. Well, false prophets got us put in captivity. That's a part of us being put into captivity, man. Poor leadership. Okay, but Jake are still rallying around poor leadership. Okay, in these times, Jake is you know exhibiting and participating in the same behavior that got us put in captivity, man. Okay, verse 4 says, and thou even thyself shall discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For you have kindled a fire in my anger which shall burn forever, which in this context is a long time. Okay, so we discontinue from our heritage, beginning with our land, our customs, and wisdom, because just as we pass down land, and substance, well, we pass down wisdom as well. But we was discontinued from that, and put in the place of death, a cycle of death, to serve our enemies, man. You see? So, man, let's go here. Go back to Baruch. Chapter 3. This is Baruch chapter 3. Okay. And verse I read 9 again. Say, hear Israel the commandments of life, give ear to understand wisdom. How happened in Israel that thou art in thy enemy's land, that thou art waxing old in a strange country, that thou art defiled with the dead, that thou art counted with them that go down into the grave. Thou hast forsaken the fountain of wisdom, which is Yahweh Bashem Shai. We've forsaken true wisdom. Okay, I found the wisdom is Yahweh Bashem Shai. You see, but the Lord has been, we try to show the more Lord's mercy, He has opened that fountain back up. Okay, he that believeth on me, as the scriptures say, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water, which is this understanding. St. John 7, and I believe 36, 38. Okay, and the belly represents our mind. That's the faculties. Okay, is our mind. Okay, so the Lord cut us off, from the wisdom, but in this time, He's opened us back up. Okay, He said, for if thou hadst walked in the way of the Most High, that thou shouldst have dwelt. Okay, thou shouldst have dwelt in peace forever. Learn where is wisdom, where is strength, where is understanding, that thou mayest know also where is the length of days and life, where is the light of eyes and peace, man. And this is what we tap back into, man. And the length of days is immortality. Righteousness is immortal. Okay, these are they that put off the mortal and put on what? The immortal. And it begins with taking on this way, taking on this understanding. That's us beginning to put on the immortal. Okay? Things are everything is being transferred to immortality, man. Beginning with the elect. You see, the elect is being translated to be immortal, man. This is not a light thing that we're a part of, man. Okay, and the heathen have nothing to do with this, man. All right, there's no way you can have an understanding of this narrative and okay, uh, 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 bless the heathen. Okay, there's no way. So let's go here, Second Ezra's, um, 7. Okay, and 43. Get to the point. Said, but the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of immortality to come, wherein corruption is past. You see, we're putting off death and putting on immortality, man. As we walk in Yahweh Shai, we conform to righteousness, man. Humility. You see, but it begins with us having accountability, man, and making the adjustments. Okay? So we're being translated to immortality. We're transitioning to immortality, man. As we walk in Yahweh Shai. Okay? And only one lineage of people is able to do that, man. Okay? You go to um Second Ezra 8. Okay. And 51 said, but understand thou for thyself and seek out the glory for such as be like thee. And that's why we don't, get tied up in the back and forth. Okay. Because at the end of the day, all right, if you're following false doctrine, no matter what breakdowns come out, no matter what videos come out, if you're following false doctrine, you continue in that way. But this glory that's to come ain't for you. Okay. The Lord didn't want you to see it. All right. So we emphasize on those that believe. We're going to address things, even in that, it's for those that believe. If you're amongst them and it's meant for you to believe, then you're gonna hear and be converted. Okay. But ultimately, everything is geared towards the edification of the hopeful elect, those all right that are like-minded in faith and humility and understanding. Okay, said, for unto you is paradise open. The tree of life is planted. The time to come, all right, is prepared. Plenty is made ready. A city is builded and rest is allowed. Yeah, perfect goodness and wisdom. The root of evil is sealed up from you, Esau Edom. Okay, the source of wickedness. Okay, he's going to be powerless and then eventually exterminated, man. Weakness, okay, and mouth is hid from you, right, which is his flesh and corruption. Okay, because it decays, is fled into hell, okay, to be forgot. Esau, man, he's going to captivity, his hell, okay, and his influence, his rulership in the earth is going to be forgotten, and eventually he's going to be done away with, man. Okay, verse 54, sorrows are past, and in the end it showed the treasures of immortality. Okay, and in the end it showed the treasure of immortality, man. This is where we at. We in the time of the treasures of immortality, man, and it begins, okay, with repentance through faith. You see, so we're being transitioning, okay, into something great, man, far beyond, okay, what this world has to offer, man. Okay, so there's a remnant that would come back to the commandments of life, man. Okay, they will come back to Yahweh Shai. You see, so let's go and get on back in Baruch. So we've tapped back into the fountain of our wisdom. Okay, which is Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay, this 14 again says, learn where is wisdom. Baruch 3 and 14, where is strength, where is understanding, that thou mayest know also where is length of days and life, where is the light of the eyes and peace, who have found out her place, or who have come into her treasures. Okay, so now it's going to show you that this wisdom, all right, ain't for heathens, man. Okay, it's going to show you that this ain't for heathens, man. Okay, because it asks who have found her place or who have come into her treasure. Okay, it says, where are the princes of the heathen? All right, where are the princes of the heathen become, and such as rule the beast upon the earth? All the heathens that have came into power. Okay, they that had their pastime with the fowls of the air, and that they hoarded up silver and gold, wherein men trust, and made no end of their getting. So you have heathens that have prospered, but they never prospered in this wisdom. Okay, the Lord has allowed heathens to have rulerships, but they never had this wisdom. Okay, for they that wrought in silver and were so careful, and whose works are unsearchable, they are vanished and gone down to the grave, and others are come up in their stead. So that it's just been a musical chair, all right, with these heathens ruling, becoming wealthy and proud, and then they fall. Another heathen come up, become wealthy, proud, powerful, fall. Esau the latest example. Okay, he's the last example, man. Okay, of these heathens coming into power, gaining all this wealth and prosperity, becoming proud, and then falling. Okay, verse 20, young men have seen light and dwelt upon the earth, but the way of knowledge have they not known, nor understood the path thereof, nor laid hold of it. Their children were far off from the way. Okay, and you look at these heathens, all right, these heathens are far separated from the true wisdom of Yahweh Bashem Shai, man. Okay, the heathen is trying to create a synthetic existence, man, a synthetic reality, man. Okay, and now when you go to, let's get this in the GNT, because it's going to call out the two main heathens. All right, which these two heathens, okay, are known for being the biggest Satanists. Okay, when you go into Baruch 3, okay, and 20 again, it says, I started 21. It said their children also failed. Okay, it says, verse 22, wisdom was not found by the Canaanites. It has not been discovered by the Edomites. Okay, you see that? So wisdom was not found by the Canaanites. It has not been discovered by the Edomites, man. And these are the two most satanic people, heathens, on the planet. Okay, because after the flood, it was the Canaanites that tapped into Satanism, child sacrifice, and all the sexual magic. Okay, Esau just got it back from him, because originally the serpent that was on there. That's what the serpent brought to Eve, man. Pure wickedness. Okay. It says, although they search after knowledge, the way of wisdom has not been found by the merchants of Maran and Tamah, or by those who relate fables, myths, or by any others who seek understanding. So this is speaking of the heathen, man. Maran and Tamah, all right, those Ishmaelite trading centers, okay, which their merchants will become rich. Ishmael was known for slave trade as well. Okay, but showing you that these heathens, they will get rich. Okay, they had great merchants and they had different rulers, but they never had this understanding. Okay, it says, "O Israel, how great is the universe in which the Most High dwell? How vast is all that He possesses?" Okay, so now it switches to is back to Israel to show you that the heathens never had this wisdom. Okay, and let's get some precepts to show. Okay, that this wisdom, okay, was always for one people. All right, even when you go here, let's get um let's get that in Psalms. Mm, Before we get that in Psalms, get that in Sirach 24. All right, Sirach 24 and 1, it says, "Wisdom shall praise herself and shall glory in the midst of her people. In the congregation of the Most High, she opened her mouth in triumph before his power." Okay, and the wisdom of the Most High is who? Yahweh Shai. I came out of the mouth of the Most High. All right, as Yahweh Shai was spoken, okay, into existence, and he embodied the wisdom of the Heavenly Father. That's why Adam, which was Yahweh Shai, had a great portion of wisdom. Okay, and King Solomon had that great portion of wisdom. Okay, it says, "And covered the earth as a cloud. I dwelt in high places, and my throne is in a cloudy pillar. I alone compassed the circuit of heaven and walked in the bottom of the deep, in the ways of the sea and in all the earth and in every people and nation I got a possession." All right, because these nations belong to Yahweh. Okay, you see? Oh, Shalaki. Verse 7, "With all these I sought rest, and in whose inheritance shall I abide?" Okay, and all these I sought rest, and whose inheritance shall I abide? So the creator of all things gave me a commandment, the Most High. All right, and he that made me caused my tabernacle to rest and said, "Let thy dwelling be in Jacob and thy inheritance in Israel." Okay, he that had made me caused my tabernacle to rest and said, "Let my dwelling be in Jacob and thine inheritance in Israel." Okay, so the Lord calls wisdom, true wisdom, to rest on Jacob, man. Okay, Israel is going to rule the world solo forever, man, in righteousness, man. Okay, this is not for these heathens, never, all right, have the wisdom that we'll have, the understanding that we'll have, man. Okay, they're going to be trained in the law, okay, for everyday living, you see, but they're not going to have the wisdom that we're going to have, man. We're going to, the type of powers and things we're going to be doing in the kingdom, man. Not just going to be sitting on throne, drinking wine and playing the harp. Okay, we're going to be onto some things, man. Okay, Jake got such a small, minute mindset when it comes to what we got coming, man. We got a lot coming, man. It's going to be a major, major, major separation between us, okay, and the heathen, man. Major separation. Okay, this book of Psalms 1, is it 149? Let's see. Maybe 147. This Psalms 147. All right. And 19 said, "He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and judgments unto Israel, which is his wisdom." Okay, then Deuteronomy 4:6 say that what this was his wisdom amongst the nation. Okay, he showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation. Okay, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. Okay, so the Lord calls his wisdom to rest on Jacob, man. You know, he's never dealt with any other nation, man. Okay, yeah, these nations have, when you read the Bible, it features. Okay, they were there. Okay, the Bible is history from the aspect of Israel. All right, from the perspective of Israel. Okay, so just because the heathen are mentioned, and you know, you had certain alliances with heathen, and the heathen will look out, and some the Lord will have favor on the heathen, certain heathen here and there. Okay, that doesn't mean that they're chosen. Okay, Deuteronomy 4:5 it says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my power commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep them therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people." Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Okay, so this is what we're coming into. We're going back and being restored to this wisdom. It's going to be in us, and we're going to govern the earth forever in this wisdom. Okay, amongst these nations, man. All right. So let's go here. All right. And the Bible constantly reaffirms, okay, that it was never dealing with these nations. Okay, the Yahweh Shema Shah was never dealing with these nations the way that he was dealing with Israel. There's always a major separation. Okay, so let's go here. Back to Baruch. All right, 3. So, see what we get. It's Baruch 3:24. It says, "O Israel, how great is the house of the Most High, and how large is the place of his possession." Okay, great and how and great and have none in. Because we speak about the universe, man. It's the uni goes to one, so it's beyond it. The Lord's. Okay, and that shows you that Jake got a small mind, because these same men will tell you that the earth will be populated. How we gonna be immortals and live forever? The earth will be overpopulated. Small minded, man. Okay, the scripture say how the Lord gonna stretch out the curtains, man. He's really see what Esau has a very small portion. He has a micro portion compared to what the Lord gonna open us up to, man. Okay, Esau is a destroyer. Most High not. That's why Esau has so. We gonna see how limited Esau was in his kingdom, because the Lord gonna open us up, man, and we're gonna see how limited this devil was in his kingdom. Okay, it said, "Therefore were the giants famous from the beginning. They were so great stature and so expert in war." Going to Goliath and his descendants. That's why a lot of Jake was scared to fight Goliath, because he was a giant, he was a big man, and he was an expert at war. Okay, it said, "Those did not the Lord choose, neither gave he the way of knowledge unto them, but they were destroyed because they had no wisdom." So it doesn't matter about your wealth, your stature, you being an expert in war. Okay, no matter how these heathens would excel in the earth, the Lord still wasn't dealing. The Lord allowed them to excel to a point. All right, and then cut them down. Esau was just a lazy example, man. It said, but they were destroyed because they had no wisdom and perished through their own foolishness, who have gone up into the clouds and taken her and brought her down from the clouds. Okay, and that's Yahweh Shai. Okay, who have gone over the sea and found her and will bring her, all right, and will bring her for pure gold. Okay, and the answer to that is Yahweh Shai. It said, no man knoweth her way, nor thinketh on her path. Okay, because it doesn't come from this realm. True wisdom doesn't come from this realm. It comes from on high. Okay, it says, but he that knoweth all things know her and have found her out with his understanding. He that prepared the earth forevermore have filled it with four-footed beasts. He that sendeth forth light, and it goeth, calleth again, and it obeyed him with fear. Okay, and it was Yahweh Shai. All right, because you go here. Let's go here. Get a few precepts. Okay, it's Yahweh Shai that has that familiarity with the Heavenly Father, and has possessed that wisdom, and this is the wisdom that he's given to what his men. All right, let's go here to I'm going to St. John. Let's get a few precepts. St. John 1, verse 18. All right, this is the book of St. John, chapter 1, and verse 18. It says, no man have seen the Most High at any time. All right, the only begotten Son. All right, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. Okay, so the only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, which what is in the bosom of the Father, someone in your bosom, you're intimate, you're familiar with. Okay, so it's Yahweh Shai. He possesses the wisdom, okay, of the Father, and he's endowed us with that wisdom, man. Okay, but none of the heathens have that access, man. Okay, even Esau on the left hand side, all right, where the left only goes so far, the right wisdom on the right hand far surpasses the wisdom on the left. Okay, so let's go here to Matthew. You see, Esau, he deals with Satan. But Satan answers to Yahweh Shai. Okay, so Esau don't have the direct connect to the Father as we do through Yahweh Shai. All right, so you go here to Matthew 11, and start at 25. It says, at that time Yahweh Shai answered and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent. All right, the wicked leadership of that time amongst Jake. All right, and has revealed them unto babes, the insignificant. This is another thing. The wisdom of the Most High, deals amongst what this world considers the insignificant. And there's another way that the Lord, hides his wisdom, okay, by putting in vessels, all right, of the lowly, okay, of things not honored in this world. Okay, so even so, Father, for so it seemed good in thy sight, this is Yahweh Shai speaking, and all things are divided unto me, and all things are delivered unto me of my Father, this wisdom and in power, and no man knoweth the Son but the Father, neither knoweth any man the Father save the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him. You see? So we the only people that have access to this wisdom, man. All right, is Israel. And this time it's the elect of Israel, beginning with the first fruits that Yahweh Shai is being revealed. Okay, and what is Yahweh Shai revealing? He's revealing the wisdom of the Father. These nations don't have it. Okay, this is exclusive. You see? So going back to Baruch, three. Go back to Baruch 3 and close it out. All right, so go back into the book of Baruch. All right, the third chapter. Um, started at 30. We'll finish it out. And it says, "Who have gone over the sea and found her, and will bring her, all right, for pure gold. No man knoweth her way, nor thinketh of her path, except for Yahweh Shai, in whom Yahweh Shai reveals, okay, these things too. But he that knoweth all things knoweth her, and hath found her out with his understanding. He that prepared the earth forevermore hath filled it with four-footed beasts. He that sendeth forth light, and then goeth, call it again, and it obeyed him with fear. The stars shine in their watches and rejoice. When he calleth them, they say, Here we be. And so with cheerfulness they show light unto him that made them. This is our power, and there shall none other be accounted of in comparison of him. He have found all the way, okay, of knowledge, and have given it, okay, and have given it unto Jacob his servant, and to Israel his beloved. You see, come on, man. Afterward, he did show himself upon earth and converse, all right, with men, and that's with Israel, man. Can't get around it, man. This is only the Lord is only dealing with Israel, man. Okay, and he's grooming and training his sons up to be joint heirs. All right, with his only begotten Yahweh Shai. Okay, and we're gonna rule the earth in true wisdom, man, forever. Okay, so that's the point. Just wanted to get into that, Lord will. You brothers and you sisters edified. Once again, we give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hope of the Shalom.